So I want to describe the Huaishuan perspective on mental health and spiritual health, which actually are not so much different or are connected to each other. And for this I want to share some slides here and go through this topic. So now keep in mind, this is not the modern view of mental health, but rather a more traditional, holistic view that I've been practicing for many years. I'm part of the Huaishuan school for many years, researching their text and teaching it to people in my clinic. I use it often and it helps patients a lot. So I want to first describe the linear view of a human being. So what you see here in this slide, on purpose, I differentiated with what I will show later on, but this is like a linear view. What are the different components of a person? This is like an overview. What's the state of affairs of a human being, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? So I will start describing it this way. First, there is a physical existence in the world. That means that our world that we live in is physical. So when you look around, all things are physical, even though we have energy and all kinds of things, but the world is physical. The trees, the tables, the house, myself is physical, my organs are physical. So this is the left side on this chart of our spectrum, the physicality of our existence. This is where, at least for us, as much as we can analyze it, the story begins. Now, the physicality of the world is not really exactly me, myself yet. So we have like the next step where my physical body exists too. Just like the trees and the animals and things, they all exist. I exist too, and you can see that I start having separation between the physical world, the trees, the forest that I have outside the house, and my physical body. But we're all physical. And of course, if we dig into modern medicine and physiology and pathology, it's all physical. Everything to a large degree is physical. The relationship between the physical world and my physical body is of existence. So there's a link there. I'm part of the material existence in the world, and I'm also exist myself, But there is a connection, which means I'm part of it, and I'm also relying on it. So my physical body relies on the physical world for its existence. That's the relationship between these two circles that we have on the left side, the material and the body. So that means I need to eat food to consume physical energy from nature, and in return my physical body can contribute to the physical world. Things that I do, I can move the chairs, I can do things physically, I can move the world physically. We have a relationship between my physical body and the physical world around me. And this is a relationship of existence. I rely on the physical world. The third step that we have in our existence is the emotions. The emotions are becoming less physical, of course, so we can feel them clearly. If I get angry, if I get happy, if I'm sad, I feel it clearly. But if you will slice my body and try to find the anger, most likely you will not find it. So again, different than the modern interpretation that something chemical happens in the brain, you will not find this feeling that I can feel in my entire body. When I feel angry, I can feel it in my body, but you will not find it physically. It expresses itself in a less physical way, nonetheless very real and very, palpable, like I can feel it. Just not like a table, not material like a table. Now the emotions help my body functions in the material world. The emotions help me want and need and desire. I'm hungry, I want to eat an apple. So how I feel helps my body exist in the material world. So you see the 3 dots on the left are connected in different ways, doing different things, but they all help promote the same action, the same activity in different ways. On the other hand, when my body that relies on the material world, I need a house, I need clothes, I need money, I need food, I need drink, right? When I have everything that I need and I have for my family everything that they need, my emotion to a large degree, and we're not talking about a problem yet, but when everything works well, we'll start feeling well. They'll be more harmonious. I'll be much more calm because it seems like there's no physical difficulty for my life. So this issue of not having physical difficulty for my life, you can see that not only the emotion helps the body exist in the physical world, but also when my body exists well in the physical world, which means it's not sick, nothing hurts me in the body, my emotion, because of this, will start to feel more harmonious, more at peace. I feel more calm, right? This back and forth between the different parts that are happening are connected both ways. So the emotion helps the body exist, but also when the body exists well and has everything that it needs and is healthy, the emotion will be in a much better state of affairs, like calm and harmonious and so forth. Beyond the emotions, we have the mental faculties, my intelligence, my thinking process, and this is like our fourth dot here, our fourth point on this linear chart. The thoughts help the emotions recalibrate and calculate. So my cognitive ability, my thinking ability, my ability to analyze things, if they're right or wrong, if they're good or bad, if they're good for me or good for the society or good for others, or bad for me or bad for others. This is all like cognitive ability, mental ability. They help the emotions calibrate. So when the emotions start to feel in a certain way, I'm hungry, I need, I want, I'm unhappy, I don't have enough oxygen, right? The thinking start to play a role in helping the emotion calibrate, to help the body do the right things physically, to reach to the material sources that we need, to the external world, and function well. And this works both ways. So when the body is healthy and the emotions are peaceful and feel great, all of a sudden you see that my thoughts are very peaceful. I think of good things. Like if my emotion feels really, really good and my body is really healthy and feels perfect, motivated and energetic and nothing hurts me, under normal circumstances, the thoughts will not go astray. They will not start being kind of confused and delirious. To the contrary, they'll be like very healthy and very calm and very peaceful. And I will start thinking of good things, like, wow, look at the world, it's so beautiful. Look at these people, they're so nice, right? I'll start having good thoughts in general. And again, this is when everything works the way it should. Of course, things can go wrong and then it doesn't work. But these 4 points, from the material world to the physical existence of the body, to the emotions kind of tool that helps the body, to the thoughts kind of tool that helps the emotions, these all 4 aspects of our life and our existence are the tool or the vehicle to reach at our 5th point here, which is the spiritual realm of our life. And the spiritual, of course, it's a widely used word, like I would say loosely used word that people just say liberally with whatever they want. But I will give you the definition that I have coming from the Huaishan, and what does it mean to be spiritual? What's spirituality? How is it part of me? The spiritual aspect of us is what we call our purpose, our mission. So if you think of, let's say, a vehicle, a car has wheels, has a body, has an engine, there's all kind of processes in the car. If it's from the combustion engine transferring energy from burning fuel to transmitting it through the axles to the wheels, right? There's a whole lot of stuff going on. But none of these things, the engine burning fuel and the wheels rolling and stuff, that actually conveys the meaning of the vehicle. The meaning or the purpose of the vehicle, the way we designed it at least, is to transport me, the driver, from here to there. That's the purpose of the vehicle. All the different things that happen in the vehicle, if they happen correctly, will help me accomplish this mission. Right? So the wheel turning or the engine burning fuel or the physicality of the car is not the purpose. It's not the purpose of the wheel to be round, but rather these are all the tools that help me deliver my purpose, my function, my destiny, what I need to do. So when we talk about a human being, but actually also animals and trees and anything that exists in nature and in the world, we have these 4 components on the left of this chart that are the different aspects that we need in order to be able to deliver or to go to our purpose, to do what we're supposed to do. And removing all the mysteriousness out of it, I'll tell you, outright what it means, at least to me. The spirituality of a person means that I have a deep, imbued purpose as a human being to help facilitate creation. Just like a tree develops an apple, a fruit that has seeds in it, and the apple falls to the ground, and the seed goes into the ground and gives birth to another tree over and over thousands of times. The force of the tree is to create the apple and the seed goes into the ground and create another tree. But there is like an overall purpose here for this activity. So there is the small picture of the apple does the tree produced the apple with the seed and so forth. But there is the overall participation in creation, that the tree makes another tree and another tree and a forest, and the forest keeps on going for thousands and thousands of years, unless of course we destroy it and so forth. The same is with the human being that is coming into the world. The purpose of the human being is not just to have a physical body or just to feel unhappy or feel happy. And many people kind of get a little confused here, because we come into the world, we don't really know why, and it becomes my objective just to feel good, like as if that becomes a purpose, or to have peaceful thoughts and to be calm in my mind, or of course to have a healthy body. So many people come into the world and they say, well, I guess that's the purpose. The purpose is for me to be here, to be healthy, and to be thinking clearly and be emotionally calm. But these are actually all the tools, the vehicles for us to reach to a real purpose. And the real purpose is for a human being and animals and trees and everything that exists, each one differently in their own way, is to facilitate how creation continues. And for us human beings, to facilitate creation means to exert goodness from us, like kindness and generosity and helpfulness. So if you notice, like when my body's sick, or when my emotions are really distraught or like difficult, and when my thoughts are like really in bad shape, I'm completely confused and anxious, and we cannot help anybody. As if this pathological situation actually prevents us from driving this vehicle to where we're supposed to go. But on the other hand, if the material existence is abundant, and my health is great, and my emotions feels awesome, and my thoughts are very, very calm, you'll see that the human being naturally will start to gravitate towards wanting to help his family, his parents, his children, his friends, neighbors, patients, students, whoever it is. We naturally gravitate into that creation mode. This is like the purpose. And of course, the more the 4 points on the left are good or better, the more we can reach to the spiritual experience, in a better way, in a more effective way, and make it more and more. So now from a linear look at what are the different aspects to our life, I want to proceed into what actually goes wrong. Like, why do we have mental illness or mental spiritual illness? Of course, there could be many different reasons. There could be traumas that we suffer, congenital problems that we have, wrong treatment, we take wrong drugs that could make us all kind of things. Society pressures, right? There's all kind of dogmas in societies that all of a sudden start portraying us as mentally ill, but actually in a different society, in a different culture, we're not mentally ill at all, right? So there's all kind of factors. It's not as simple as just like one reason, but overall, like to a large degree, the reason that we start having a emotional, mental and spiritual decline is because we develop perception in society, in our education system, in the way we bring up our children, that this is how the world looks like. So the same 5 things that I talked about in this linear chart, we think we grow to believe in that material existence is huge. Like this is almost it. So I'm very cautiously right here, 50% of what I think is most important is material, but actually for many people it's 90%. It's like everything. And when we say material, it means all my sustenance, the house, the car, the money, or the bills, or the absence of them. It becomes like, if you think about it, like during the day, we work most of the day. We work most of the day to make money so we can sustain ourselves and sustain our family. It's like that occupies 95% of my day. And thinking about it, even after work, I come home, it's all about how do I make the next bill payment, how to make money, how to get things. But right after that, and very close after that, comes the perception of the body and health of the body. So if it's not about having enough money to have whatever I want, definitely the next most important thing is my body not to be sick. And again, here I'm just writing 20%, but between the material existence and the body physical health, most people, it occupies 95%. Like this is it. It's physical health and how much material sustenance I have. Then emotions, it's kind of in the background. So I write 15%, and the thoughts and the clarity and the peacefulness of the thoughts, it's even smaller. I mean, it comes by default, but I'm not really paying special attention to it. It's just kind of operating on autopilot. And for many of us, spirituality or spiritual practice comes down to like a couple of yoga classes a week. Like that's my spiritual time. I get a couple of hours and I practice something, meditation, yoga, something. And I think this perception, which is, really inclines towards remember the prior chart inclines toward the left side of the chart. This becomes it, the left side, the material, the body, it becomes it. And if anything at all, people become aware of their emotional disturbances, and that's it. The thoughts, it's already, something that we're not so conscious about, and the spiritual practice is something that is very vague for a lot of us. But I think this is the main reason for me, and the Huaishuan kind of understanding of things realizes that the root for many of the problem is being not so balanced in this issue, and kind of seeing the world in a warped point of view, where the material existence and my physical health is it. Everything else is gravy, so to speak. So when we talk about mental health and mental illness, the way I described it at the very beginning of the talk, remember I told you the modern medicine psychiatry had to start leaning into the physicality, the physiology of mental health, like chemical imbalances, because that's the only thing that really kind of validate that style of medicine. So there is the aspect of thinking and mental and emotional, but the chemical imbalances became the thing because everybody in the world kind of believed that the material existence is it and everything else is a little gravy. I think, that this is, as much as I understand, the real picture of a human being, the real way that we experience life, the way it should be, is actually very different. So the material existence around us and the health of the body, of course we need it, and of course it's important. But really, to sustain the body to be healthy, we need very little. We need clothes to warm us, proper food to eat, and shelter from the rain and the storms and things like that. But it's not the way that we think. It's not the way that we grow to believe, the competitiveness and the trying to be more successful, materialistic and so forth. It's very much not so. The emotions aspect is actually bigger than what we think. But when we go into the thoughts, the calm of thoughts, the ability to differentiate right from wrong, the spiritual purpose of a human being, like to exert goodness and kindness and generosity and help everyone and everything around us, to propagate life, propagate creation, this is really an image of what things should look like. this is how it should look like. It means that the spirituality of a human being is actually the purpose. Even though it's the most non-physical, like it's not like a table, but this is like what makes our life of value. So I'm not saying that the physical body and having money and this material is no value, but what makes a human being of value is the spiritual part. And spiritual, again, let's just remove all kind of esoteric things. Just understand that there's an impulse inside the heart to do good, to help everything and everyone at all times, if we could, if everything else works. And this gives us meaning. This drives our vehicle to where we're supposed to go. Just like, in a different way, but just like that tree that gives birth to an apple, to a seed that gives birth to another tree, on and on and on, generation after generation, making forests for thousands of years. So it's like the human heart that can drive forward helpfulness and generosity and kindness and positivity, not just for self, but for propagating life and creation. And in order to do it, the mind has to be, first of all, much bigger than what we think it is, and it needs to be very clear and very peaceful. Peaceful means that it's, has tendency to create harmony, and clear means that it knows what is right and what is wrong, what is harmful for me and others and the world and society, and what is beneficial for me and others, the world and the society, right? And this kind of thoughts, the ability to develop it, is a huge part of our existence that leads to the spirituality function. And of course, this leads me here to the last slide that I wanted to talk about. We have in the first slide the linear view of what are the different components and how they're linked to each other. And then in a very short way, I kind of described why is it going wrong, because we developed that kind of different perspective of life, where the materialistic and body physical existence are heavy or too much. And then I described in the last slide how a more appropriate view of existence should be like, which is difficult. It should be, meaning everyone is leaning to the material existence. So me just saying that we should be super spiritual, it really does not help. It just shows best case scenario. This image that I want to share here is that, at least for us as a method, as a practice, we need to take that linear view of a few different components that we have, and I actually make it a circular view. So it's not a linear view, it's a circular view that, at the minimum, the material experience of my life, the physicality, the emotions, the thoughts, and the spiritual activity needs to be on equal footing. So I'm not saying the spirituality should be more important than my body. It's in a imaginary world, it would be. But talking about a practical method of how can I start to restore more of it is to, at the minimum, create a circular motion where the different components that I described before have equal footing. So they're kind of equal. So you see the 5 dots are of equal size. I'm closing these 5 linked elements into one circle, even though at the bottom I left it broken. Like when that circle, when we can close it and make my spiritual action of goodness, generosity and kindness one and the same as my materialistic activities, then we can say that we close the circle. Then we have like a real harmonious picture. But as much as we can, we try to close this circle, where my physical activity and the material existence, pursuit of money and paying the bills and stuff that I need, making my body healthy, making my emotion do the proper job to help the body and be harmonious, making my mind thinking, exercising my mind to be able to think clearly what is beneficial, what is not beneficial, what is good, what is bad, for the emotions, for the body, for the surrounding, for the existence of the world. And from there to actually drive at my mission, which is the spiritual activities of driving myself from a very deep place to create goodness and creation, to help facilitate with creation, like fulfilling my mission. This is the spiritual part. The more we can bring this closer back together to the very beginning, what I do all day long, trying to work and make money and things like that. But if we start to close it together, I think this is the best method for us to start to go that direction. So this is conclude the second part of the talk, where I just wanted to introduce, the overview, the problem, more or less the direction how to solve this problem. This is this last slide. I want us to take a 5-minute practice. So we can, right now we just talk, okay, at the end we go home and, I don't know, it's just some more ideas. I want us actually to learn one exercise for 5 minutes that I do teach patients, that I practice myself when I need to, when I feel kind of emotionally not good, when my mind is not going right. And this exercise talks about the 5th dot, this spiritual practice. Remember we said the spiritual practice is exerting goodness from inside. Kindness, the generosity. So how do I do it? Let's say I feel really bad. Let's say I have like so stressful day. You cannot, you can force yourself to do something good, but it's so artificial and it really does not get to the root of the problem. I do it and my heart is not there. I'm so stressed out, I cannot go and do something good right now. I'm just like, I'm just expressing like, or sharing with you like a, imaginary situation. So, I want us to do an exercise that I recommend to my patients to do every morning before we start the day, a way to kind of set the course for the day. Because yesterday we had a stressful day, right? It was pretty bad yesterday. And I know when I go back to work today, it's also going to be stressful. Or let's say yesterday I had some bills that I have to pay and I don't have the money to pay it. I go to sleep, I wake up, I know the bills are still there. Right? It's not like because I went to sleep, the obligation and the stressors that I have in my life disappeared. I wake up right into them again. Right? So the anxiety, the depression, all kind of bad feelings, bad thoughts that we had yesterday, I get exhausted at night, I go to sleep, but I wake up right into it again. I'm very clear that they're not gone, unless of course I solve them. So what I recommend to people is to start the day practicing on that spirituality circle. So even though the obligation, the stressor, the aggravation at work, whatever was the situation that aggravated me, is still going to be there. It was there yesterday and still going to be there today. When I wake up in the morning, I want to start at that 5th circle, that spirituality circle. And I want to do 5 minutes there. So the exercise is very simple, but I want us to do it together. So let's just, do this one practice, just for a few minutes, not even 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes. So imagine it's the morning, you just opened your eyes, so it's not like later in the day like we're now. But it's a fresh start, the day just started. So either I'll do what I normally do, wake up with the anxiety, with the worries, with the, what am I going to do today, my schedule, there's all kind of stuff to do. Right? That will be at the existence and the body level and the emotion. I'm starting there. So instead of starting there the day, I want to start on the spiritual side. And the spiritual side says, all the problem will be there in 5 minutes when I get out to the world and to reality. But right now, I want to start there. So basically means I just sit quietly, I just open my eyes, or not even open my eyes. I can still be lying down in bed, or I can sit up in bed right as soon as I got up. I didn't do anything. And I realized this is the first exercise that I want to do. So I just take a deep breath. So let's just do it with me together, if you may, just for 2-3 minutes, so we have an idea of what an exercise looks like. I just take a deep breath, raise my shoulder a little bit, and then I exhale and just allow my physical body to relax. I allow my thoughts to kind of subside, subdue. Maybe thinking of my center of my body, my abdomen, just for a moment, nothing too fancy. Take another breath, maybe to relax again. And then exhale, relax, and know that if you have a lot of worries today, fine, I'll get back to them in 5 minutes. Right now, let me just do this, right? Let me just focus on my purpose. It's like it's my right, it's my inborn right. I have a purpose and it's my right to dwell in it for a few minutes. It's mine, like my time, my purpose, my mission in life. And then just feel in the center of the heart, the center of your chest, just have that thought that today I just woke up, right? I was asleep, unconscious, but I just woke up. And today, my mission is to do something good. Maybe many good things, but at least something good. This is my mission. So I'm thinking about it, I'm using my thoughts. I'm trying to feel it like today, in addition to all the worries and the mess and all the stuff, there's something that my heart will do good. And that could be with my family members, with neighbors, towards myself, with whatever. Something good. Doesn't matter the specifics. Physically, I feel my body. My body will help me deliver this something good. So I will actually take a physical act or say something physical. Say something, not just keep it for myself, but say something good. Do something good to someone, to something. So just closing my eyes, realize that thought that today my mission will be to do something good, in addition to many other things. And I feel in my heart that I need to do something good. In my body, my arms, my legs, my fingers, my toes, I will actually take an action to do something good that help me fulfill one of my missions today, in addition to doing all the other stuff that I have to do. And we just kind of dwell in it for a minute or two, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Today in the class, we're not going to do it too long, but just to give you an idea, what's an exercise? Very simple, not too fancy meditation, not too quiet, not too agitating. Just starting in this 5th spot of spirituality, where my purpose is of doing something good, thinking something good, saying something good, feeling of doing something good, physically actually doing something good with my body. Let's just stay quiet like this for 10-20 seconds, that's all. So now, even though this exercise we did very shortly, I wake up into the day, and again, when you're actually practicing it every morning, just give you a few more minutes. It's for you. That's the precious time for you. Everything else is for the material, for others to go survive in the world. But from here, if you're able to start to develop this consciousness in your mind, in your feelings, in your physical body, you start developing awareness in these few different aspects, that something good needs to happen today with what I think, with what I feel, with what I do. This then start to create a trajectory of your day. So even though you still have the same bills, you still need to go to handle the same anxiety causing factors, the external things, people from the outside that annoy you are still going to annoy you or try to annoy you. But it starts to set you off on a different trajectory. And this is the beginning of healing in the mental and spirituality aspect. So if you think about medicine, health and healing, the physical, the material sides, we have a lot of it. Physical medicine, the body, the health of the body, the physical existence. There's tons of it. The emotional, mental and spiritual are in great deficiency, and this is really the cause for a lot of our mental illnesses, so to speak. And again, mental illness is basically every person that feels upset from modern medicine. If you feel upset long enough, strong enough, you're mentally ill. But it's not really. It's not, this labeling of mentally ill is because the reason that it was needed is to make psychiatry a real medicine and be able to go into the pharmaceutical world, medication and stuff like this. That's why we need this labeling. But for us existing in this world, we need to be aware of that spirituality, mental activity, and emotional wholesomeness is in a great deficiency. All the malfunctionings that we feel is because we don't do enough to support it. We do a lot to support the body and the physical existence, but not enough to support the spirituality, pureness of mind, and harmonious heart. We do some, but not enough. So I think starting the day like this and creating a trajectory of goodness, of spirituality, is a tremendous way to start the day and try to help solve this problem. So someone is saying, I usually start saying a prayer to God in the morning. That's awesome. That's really good way to start the day. So I want to, if you have more questions, please type them in the chat. I want to also share with you some resources. This is our platform here. If you go to hunyuan.life, right at the top of the page, I mean you can scroll down on this platform, but right at the top of the page there is Hunyuan Sanctuary. So if you go to Hunyuan Sanctuary, this is like a 3-month program that I created, which has like 3 classes a day. You can read all about it. But this is something for people who want to practice. So not so much dig in to become practitioners, to become like therapists, but more people that just need to help themselves, like patients and regular people that want to feel better, healthier, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So in this sanctuary we have 3 different classes that we categorize them into Ignite, Light, and Calm types classes. Each class is 10-15 minutes and the program is 3 months long. So in the morning we start with a physical exercise to help the body. In the middle of the day we have a light class, light like, the light bulb kind of light that gives us spirituality thoughts, so that helps the mind, the thoughts. And then in the evening we have a class, also a short class that is more like meditation. We call them calm classes. So this is a type of program of practicing, like how to practice. Of course you can have many other things, yoga classes and other things, but this is one resource that I can point you to. If you want to learn something deeper, like how to practice that kind of medicine, you can go at the top of the website to categories and spirituality subcategories, and you can see that we have here Huaishuan topics, meditation and heart methods, and you can go into each one of the subcategories and find courses, and these are like deeper. So each class is like 2 hours long, so each course is 10-20 hours, some courses are 50 hours long, so these are like deeper courses for practitioners, like Great Center 1 and Great Center 2, for example, are Huaishuan deep concepts that we go through, in many classes. So there is this resource that you can do if you want to learn and go deeper in that. Another resource that I want to share is some literature that I put out. So if you go to my ebooks page, it's yaronseidman.gumroad.com, and you can always email me or DM me and ask me if you're not sure. But there are some books here that are very relevant. So for example, the Hunyuan Shinfa, which means heart method, the lost art of medicine, is a good book to start with. There's another book here, the Huaishuan texts. Some of them, they have many texts, but some of them that I translated. It's called Huaishuan Collection, so that's a great book that you can get. Of course, these books you can get them physical or ebooks. This great learning text is the same class when I show you the courses, that it says Great Learning Part 1 and Part 2. We use this text. It's called Great Learning Simple Explanations, which are ancient texts, Confucian texts that Liu Yuan had extensive commentary on, and they translate them and we go through them and try to understand them. Also, the Analects of Confucius with commentary. This is a good book that you can go into. So these are pretty much some resources that you can go into. When you go to hunyuan.life, also you can see that there's a live chat at the bottom of the screen. If you want to ask us questions, you just go into the live chat. If you want to find out about courses or literature, you can always ask us in the live chat. And I think some of these links are also in the chat here that we have. So someone is asking if I'm tapping into Judaism. Actually, I do very much. So not only Chinese ancient philosophical concept, but also Judaism, has a lot of, and many religions, Buddhism and Judaism have a lot of wisdom. And but it's a little bit outside the topic of the class today, but there's definitely a lot of wisdom there that should be explored. And if you have questions now, you can of course ask too, but otherwise, do you have a question, June? I don't know if you can turn your microphone if you want. Let's see. Here, you think you can turn your microphone on and ask something?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. It was really lovely.
Sure. Thank you. So, there's a long path there, but I've been doing it for many years. I also personally have experience with it, with one of my children who's dealing with difficulties. I'm very much in this space. Yesterday or the day before, for example, I'm a practitioner, I'm a doctor of the Chinese medicine and treating patients. And 2 days ago, for example, I had two new patients. One of them, has a tremendous trauma that he went through when he was like in high school of abuse. And another one that I saw the same day in the afternoon also has tremendous traumas in her family when she grew up and how she grew up and things like that. And these things, they are so common in practice, they affect so many of us. And just labeling someone as mentally ill sometimes is necessary. Sometimes if it gets to a critical situation where it's really, really terrible and you have to have medication. So I'm not totally against it. So sometimes there's really great resources available. It's not like it used to be 100 years ago or 50 years ago with the stigma and tortures that they used to do with mental health patients and things like that. Now, today is very, very different. The programs that they have to help and the drugs and how much they're open-minded in the modern medicine, psychiatry and so forth is very different than 50 years ago. So today many things like gender identity disorder or homosexuality or things like that, I would say that the modern medicine perception has evolved and wasn't, it was much worse. Everything was a mental disease. Like you have PMS, you have a manic disorder, so everything was kind of labeled. So too much labeling of disease, of course, is really bad, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes medications are very helpful. But this thing that I described today, shifting our understanding of this mental problems, mental, emotional, spiritual problems, right? It's a whole spectrum of 3 different things, the emotions, mental, and spiritual problems. With the methods that I'm describing, like the Huaishuan is teaching, and I've been practicing for many years, you can solve literally 90% of them. So I would not say 100%. Some cases are really clinical and traumatic, and it's very difficult. But these kind of methods can solve 90% of them. And the other 10% of them, of the really, really critical, difficult cases, they can help. Maybe not solve, maybe you need other assistance, medications and hospitalization and other things. But these kind of methods and understanding and practice can actually help a lot as well. So today I was hoping just to introduce it. Hopefully some people will find it interesting, realize that this mental, emotional, spiritual problem is something that is super common, and we can all take a stance and do something to help it, either ourselves, our family, people around us, and clients, co-workers, patients, things like that we have. So, thank you everyone today for watching. I really appreciate it.
Actually, Dr. Seidman?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Oksana.
Hi.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I can turn off my camera on, but I just have a quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned something about childhood trauma. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like let's say if somebody had, a difficult childhood, do you think it's affecting them when they're already an adult? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. So in our work, in our hard work, it's clear that the way that the heart works, the emotions, the mental activity, the spiritual capacity is all being shaped through our childhood. So of course, if someone has a very supportive environment, very nurturing parents, and there's not wars around them, an existential threat, not everyone, but in general, a person will have a tendency to develop into more emotional well-being, mental well-being, and spiritual exercise of their life. This is a natural phenomenon. So ideally in the world, kids will not have trauma. But if we face the reality in this world, it's not like this. There's wars, and even if there's not wars, there's all kind of social pressures, issues in the family with parents, siblings, otherwise social stigma in school, issues, and especially now with the internet, with TikToks, Instagram, online bullying, there's all kind of stuff going on. So there's no way to avoid childhood trauma. However, different than the modern conception that you were traumatized, that means you're messed up and now let's try to medicate you or hospitalize you or something, right? Different than the common approach to that, the Huaishuan with their heart method believes that the heart mechanism, the heart includes the emotion, the mental, and the spiritual, right? There's three different dots on the right side. They are forever, until I die, adjustable. That means that if you give me more trauma, they will get worse. And if you start doing things to undo it, it will get better. So it forever can get better. Until I die. When I die, then my job in the world is finished. But so it's not really fixed. It's not like a scar that's it. You're scarred, scratched, so to speak, and that's it. But rather, so that's why when we do our work in the Hunyuan kind of Sinfa heart method, the Huaishan model, is knowing that wherever you are, from this point onwards, we can change to the better. We just need to have techniques and tools to be able to do it. So if you don't do anything, it will not change to the better just because you want to. You need to have tools and techniques, methods, right? So for example, like this sanctuary that I showed, this 3 months program, is many classes on different levels, physical, spiritual, and emotional, that help you, and mental, that help you slowly kind of dig into it and progress. For example. So we do need methods and techniques, but the point is that we don't believe that trauma is final. The issues, I think also modern medicine don't think that trauma is final. That's why you have like psychoanalysis and things like that. Right? So you go to treatment with a psychologist or psychiatrist in the hope to help it. Except that I think trauma happens on a place that is verbally expressive, that you can talk about it, and it happens also in realms that are beyond what you can say. So if your treatment methods of spirituality, mental and emotional are limited to just talking, let's talk about it, there's a limited progress that you can make in solving trauma, because some of it is deep, much beyond saying, talking. So even if you talk about it, like the 2 patients that I mentioned, they talked to me about it, and I also talked to them about it, but that fully cannot solve the problem. However, like the exercise that we did today, not talking about your trauma, but like saying, let's start setting a course for today of goodness. For example, I'm not talking about the trauma. I'm not addressing that scar. Actually, because it increases the spirituality circle on our spectrum, it will start to change the heart. So, making it simple, if you have a trauma in the past and now your heart is wrenched, and because of that you feel bad and your mind is, have difficulty handling situation because of the trauma, there is like, your heart operation is as if has a tattoo on it. You can't remove the tattoo unless the surgery, but it's like there, it's always there. So the pattern of how you think and feel and interact in society and how you handle yourself is fixed. Like you can't change it. It's beyond your regular thinking process. But if you go in and you start to change how the heart operates, so you need tools for that and methods and techniques. But if you start working it out, so it starts working differently, We could say that the trauma, even though it happened in the past, does not affect you anymore. So you cannot undo it. Like, you cannot take the past. The past is the past. Happened. The only question is if it still has the memory on your heart to behave in a certain way. And if it is, that means that that trauma exists in you all the time. So it didn't happen 30 years ago. I mean, it happens 30 years ago, but in your heart, in the way you feel and behave and think, it lives. Even if many times you suppress it. So many people, you know, for example, they'll start smoke recreational drugs or something, or take psychotic medications or things like that. So it will help them manage it. It will help you handle it. But that trauma lives with you because your heart is not cured from this. But if you have methods and techniques that slowly, not all of a sudden, but slowly, start to change your heart to think and feel and perceive the world just like that other person that never had a trauma in their life. Remember, I at the beginning said kids with no trauma, they tend to have a different pattern of heart. If your heart starts to feel like them, it actually means that that trauma vanished from your current scenario. It happened in the past, maybe you're not forgetting it, but it's not deciding for you anymore what to think, how to feel, how to exist, how to exert your purpose of goodness. So this is what we're trying to do with our method. It's not like to move on from it and get into a place where the heart... And I think from my experience, this is absolutely the case. Like, the heart is able to change, and that trauma, even though you still remember it, is not going to affect you anymore. And that's the objective. You know, this is for us emotional, spiritual, you know, mental recovery. Right? You remove that from your menu. You remove that trauma from the daily menu, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. That's perfect.